Hey guys, so we're here, back again with another review. Today we'll be taking a look at the McFarlane Toys DC Multiverse Gold Label Target exclusive, Kyle Rayner. Now before we get into it here, let's first take a look-see at both the front and the back of the packaging. So without further ado, let's get into it. Now before we get into the meat and taters of this review, Kyle Rayner does come with a collectible trading card featuring, I believe, artwork from the source material. Yeah. And I believe this particular version of good old Kyle Rayner here is from Changing of the Guard, which, if I'm not mistaken, is the very first appearance of this character. He took the reins of the Green Lantern, representing planet Earth, after Hal Jordan flipped his crap, became parallax, and got offed by Cyborg Superman, if I'm not mistaken. Please correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's how the story goes. Either way, there's a bio on the back that you can pause and read at your own leisure. But, spoiler alert, if I'm correct, I just gave you the bio. That said, he also comes with a couple of really cool construct accessories. Comes with this katana sword. At least I believe it's a katana and not a wakizashi. Very interesting considering Kyle is, I don't believe he's Japanese, is he? I don't know. I can't tell because he's wearing a mask. But at any rate, he comes with a katana sword and some really cool samurai armor in this translucent green plastic. We'll slip this on him before size comparisons, but that's pretty much it. Decent little spread. It would have been nice to get a lantern, but it is what it is. That said, get a closer look at Kyle. He does come with the hockey puck display stand, which we're used to seeing in this line. Sitting off to the side there. Here is Kyle. Now, pretty much the same as the Blackest Night figure. I was actually having a brain fart. I almost thought he came with a lantern for a minute, but no, I don't believe he does. Either way, pretty much the same as the Blackest Night figure, albeit with new lower arms and legs, which is fine. I think the legs are new. Hold on, I have the other ones in there. Yeah, the legs and arms are both new. So, that's cool. And then the head sculpt is also new, although I saw this over on Toy Shiz's channel. He did a head swap between this one and the Blackest Night one. The Blackest Night one has a more smiley face going for it. This one's a little bit more stern and serious. I think I'm going to do the same and swap the heads. But at any rate, as far as articulation on this figure is concerned, it's the same as the Blackest Night version. You get the double ball peg in the head, which does not get the most range, unfortunately. Albeit, you do get some. You get enough, I think, but I think the Deathstroke was a little bit more impressive. He does get some tilt, though. Really good tilt, although his chin's getting stuck on his collar there. And, of course, you get your rotation. Very loose, but it's the head. It's not going to pose a problem for the rest of the figure. Shoulders go out to the side, go back down, they rotate all the way around. He's got a butterfly kind of ball socket joint going on in there. Has a bicep swivel that's super tight. But it's not, unlike some of the Hasbro figures of late, it's gummy, but not in a bad way. It's not pulling on that peg when you rotate it, so that's a plus. It does have a double elbow, and because of this, I don't know, elbow pad, armor plate here, the bottom joint is hidden, but the top one is still kind of gappy. So be mindful of that. He does have the ball hinge wrists, swivel at the top and the bottom. He's got the ring on his finger there. I just remembered it was the Blackest Night Kyle Rayner that came with the lantern. So, yeah, I knew I wasn't crazy. I thought they made a lantern for this guy. It just didn't come with this figure. That said, the torso can crunch back about that far. forward about that far. His torso is very smooth on the front here too, due to the paint, I want to say. But the abs are a little bit more textured like the rest of him. That said, the white's very clean. For being white paint on a black figure, that's very clean. It doesn't look too bad. It looks okay. That said, you do also get your rotation out of these joints. Very stiff, very sturdy. And you do get your tilt. And that's your lot there. A little bit weeble wobble here and there, but you can find the sweet spot. Hips can kick forward, and I will say, I think I commented on this before, and with other figures as well. If they trim the front of this diaper away a little bit, you'll be able to kick the hip up forward, and the hip itself will fill out that gap because the hip goes all the way up, almost to where the waist swivel is. So you don't really need this extra bit here. So if you're handy with an X-Acto knife, I'm not, but unless it's just some mold flash or something, you could trim some of this away and get better range out of the hips. But as it stands, it's okay. It's not terrible. He does kick out to the side. Perfect split just about, so that's nice. You do get, there it is. You do get a thigh cut in there. Does it work on both sides, or do I got one leg that's longer than the other? I don't know, let's see. Alright, it does work. And the legs seem to be about even, so that's a plus. Sometimes they don't drown out the legs all the way. Power Ring, I'm looking at you. Double knee. That looks atrocious, but it does work. It's not the worst thing ever, but geez, man, he's missing like a chunk out the side of his leg, and the bottom joint can't tell as much, so I would just advise using that one. Even with the knee guard here, it's still not as chunky. So I would just use that, or just use this top one with this knee pad, because you can kind of hide that joint a little bit, but it is what it is. Then he has the sculpted ankle balls, much like the wrists that do hinge forward and back. He does have a swivel at the foot, and at the where it plugs into the leg here. He's got two swivels and a hinge in between, okay? You guys know what you're getting into by now, I would hope. And then he's got a toe joint, which is actually, I never comment on where they place these because I think all toe joints are useless and stupid. But this one seems to be placed okay. That's where your toes are, not like the middle of your foot. And this one's a little bit looser. It has some schmutz on it, but either way, a fairly decent figure. I think I like the Deathstroke more. I think I might actually prefer the Blackest Night version more as far as the costume goes, but this is cool. This is Kyle Rayner in his 90s duds, and I know a lot of people are stoked about this, my good buddy Evil Villain included. I actually had to pick him up one of these because he's unable to find a lot of the Target exclusive figures in his area, so I was more than happy to do that for him. I would have paid for it, but I was broke at the time. But either way, it is what it is. So with that being said, why don't we gear up good old Kyle Rayner here with his samurai armor, which can be easier said than done, but you can just kind of force it over the head, and there you go. Sometimes it gets stuck on his chin, but that's mostly when you're going to take it off. And I have to say, this does add quite a bit to the figure. I think it looks really cool with this. And to top that all off, why don't we give him his katana sword. Again, I think it's a katana and not a wakizashi. I am not an expert on medieval Japanese weapons here, so bear with me. And there you go. There is Kyle Rayner. Looking pretty sweet. And this Green Lantern is also a fan of swords, I've noticed. The other one had the big arse kind of chainsaw sword, whereas this one has the more sleek and a streamlined katana sword. So very interesting. Actually, I like to call the other one a buster sword. It's not exactly a chainsaw sword, not like the Warhammer figures, or that clown figure from the Spawn line I looked at a few weeks ago. So with that being said, a really cool figure. Probably not top 10, but it's not bad. I think personally, of the Green Lanterns we got this year, Parallax is probably my favorite, and we will, like I said before, take a look at him in the next few weeks probably. If I didn't say it before, well, I'm saying it now. So yeah. So before this video runs on longer than it needs to, why don't we move right along and take a look at some size comparisons. First up, here's our new-ish Target exclusive Kyle Rayner alongside his Blackest Night counterpart from the collective build Atrocitus Wave, and much like I said before in the Defiance Deathstroke review from yesterday, check that out if you haven't already. I'd really appreciate it if you did. I will leave a link in the description below to my review of this older Kyle Rayner figure for those of you who have missed it. And as you can see, much like the Deathstroke I took a look at yesterday, these two share the same exact base body with some new parts here and there to make them just a little bit different from one another. And that's one thing I do appreciate from McFarlane Toys. They don't just give you a variant, they actually go the extra mile and slap some new parts on it, so it feels like you're not buying the same thing twice, which is something I think Hasbro could take note of, especially since a lot of their figures start to look the same after a while. And last, but certainly not least, we have our two regulars, the Mythic Legions, Brother Mandibulus, the Livid Spawn, who's about neck and neck with good old Kyle Rayner here, and having the Green Lantern alongside Al Simmons makes me want a Green Lantern Spawn. Do you guys think that's a cool idea? I think that's a cool idea, but maybe he's more fitting as a Red Lantern. Let me know about that in the comments below. But with all that being said, let's now move on and wrap things up with some final thoughts. Overall, and while I may not have as much nostalgic connection to good old Kyle Rayner here, all I'm gonna say is that if you enjoyed the Blackest Night version of this character, then you're more than likely going to enjoy this one a little bit more. Not just because it's his, I believe, first appearance and or classic look, but it's a very different take on that. I've never seen this costume with the samurai elements added to it before. We did get this design back when Mattel was doing DC Multiverse figures, but it wasn't nearly this interesting. So I have to give kudos to McFarlane Toys for once again giving us something different, much like the Deathstroke I took a look at yesterday. That, and did I forget to mention that both this and Deathstroke were Target exclusives and relatively easy to find. I mean, when I picked them up, they had pegs full of them, unlike Nightfall Batman. Walmart sucks. So with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this review. If you're so inclined, please don't forget to comment, like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you know whenever I upload more reviews like this one. If you haven't already, please hit me up on Instagram at Overlord Productions. But as always, keep comments civil, because the world sucks enough as it is, especially when there are too many exclusives today, man. Way too many, especially at Walmart. Until next time, I'll catch you guys later.